Hi, I'm Jeff, and welcome to another video where I take a look at all the new comic books coming out on either November 17th or 18th, 2020, and I ask myself the question, what one new comic book would I buy this week if I could buy just one book? Now, to the 40 or so of you that have been watching this video religiously every single week, I really appreciate you. Thank you so much. You may have noticed that these videos are starting to get a little bit long, and for that I apologize, but there's a lot of great information that I want to share with you, so I'm going to try to move through things as quickly as possible without rushing. First thing I want to talk about today are my cover picks of the week, and there are some really good ones, and I'm going to try to move through them once again quickly. The first one I want to mention to you is Mars Attacks, Red Sonja number 4, cover B by Luca Strati. I just like it. It makes me smile. I love the angle, I love the art, everything about it I just like, and so I wanted to put it on my cover picks for this week. The next one I wanted to mention is Catwoman number 27, the Jenny Friesen cardstock variant. Jenny Friesen is so good. Her art is so understated, but so amazing. Every time I see one of her covers, it's hard to look away. This one is no exception. Really great work, Jenny Friesen. Really great. Next is a name that you have been hearing from me a lot in the cover pick section of these videos. The book is Aquaman number 65, and the artist is Joshua Middleton. This time, not doing a Wonder Woman cover, but instead doing an Aquaman cover and showing that it doesn't matter what he draws, it's going to be good no matter what. Joshua Middleton, we'll see you in the next cover pick video. Well done, sir. The next book that I want to mention is a book that we'll be talking about again later in this video, and it's Dark Knight's Death Metal number 5. And the cover is the Art Germ Stanley Lau Cull variant. Now, for those of you that have been paying attention in these videos and watching them religiously, you know that I have been collecting Dark Knight's Death Metal, and you know, if you've been paying really close attention, that I have been covering the Art Germ covers, collecting the Art Germ covers specifically. And I'm glad I have, because they've been really great. And this one is absolutely no exception. This cover is amazing. I'm a big fan. Well done, Art Germ. I kind of am starting a mini Art Germ collection in my own collection, by the way, because I'm a big fan of his. The next book I want to mention, I really like a lot. It's just really good. It is Once in Future, number 13, the cover B by Franny. I really like, it looks like it's watercolors, and I just really like the lady with the white hair and the sunken features and the wrinkles underwater with the sword and the water pouring off the hilt, and it's glowing, and even the lily pads and the flowers along the outside really filling out the composition. I think this is really well done. Once in Future is a book that I kind of sort of wish I was reading, and I may go back and scoop up every single issue of it, because every time it gets on my radar, I'm just like, man, why aren't I reading that? And this is another instance of that. This cover is so good and making me really want to go out and pick up this title. But it's not my pick for this week. My pick for this week is something that I think is actually pretty special and something that I liked a lot. And it is from the book You Look Like Death, Tales from the Umbrella Academy, number 3. The artist is David Mack, and this is really good. It is a mixed media piece that seems to be incorporating watercolors there in the paints. It seems to be incorporating like construction paper cutouts that you might see there in the top of the umbrella, also in the flowers up at the top of the picture, also potentially in his tie that looks like a construction paper cutout there, and in the handle of the umbrella. It looks like there is some embossing in his sweater of those like silhouetted characters down there that maybe brought out a little bit, easier to see with a little bit of watercolor in there. The thing that really blew my mind, the thing that I didn't even notice until one of my last viewings of this image, is that the pole of the umbrella is a paintbrush. I cannot believe that wasn't the first detail I noticed, but it was the last detail I noticed. To me, it just speaks to how wonderful this piece of art is. It's so cohesive and well put together as a mixed media piece. I like it a lot. And that is why You Look Like Death, Tales from the Umbrella Academy number 3 is my cover pick of this week. Okay, moving on past that, let's focus now on the new books that are coming out this week. The new titles, I should say. New number ones coming out this week. This is a section that takes up a fair amount of time in these videos, but I really think it's important to put these things on your radar because the next big book at one point had a number one issue, and that's the one everybody wanted to collect. So this is me letting you know what's new this week. So if something is interesting to you, you know to go and pick it up while you can, still at cover price before it potentially blows up and becomes that lottery ticket that hits. The first one I want to point out and give special attention to is Marvel's Voices, Indigenous Voices, number 1. Now, kudos to Marvel. They have been putting out this book in honor of Native American Heritage Month, which is this month of November. This book focuses on Native American characters written by Native American authors with art done by Native American artists. That's really cool. Visibility is so important to certain cultural groups these days that I really appreciate the fact that Marvel took the time to shine a light on Native American Heritage Month with this title by featuring and focusing on their Native American characters. And if you've been paying attention at your local comic book store, something I really haven't been talking about, but I'm going to talk about it now, is that they have had these special variant covers that are part of the celebration of Native American Heritage Month this month. And some of them I like a lot, some of them I think are just fine, but I think that they would make a fantastic set, like all put together, all 9/8, all signed. Man, this would be a fantastic set. The artist is Jeffrey Veregi. And there's basically 8 of them with a 9th honorable mention. That's this one right here. That's part of Marvel's Voices, Indigenous Voices. But the main 8 are this other one from Marvel's Voices, Indigenous Voices, number 1. This one from Avengers 38. This one from Thor, number 9. This one from Captain America, number 25. Another from Widowmaker's Red Guardian and Yelena Belova, number 1. Another book we'll be talking about later in this video. This one from Immortal Hulk, number 40. This one from Iron Man, number 3. And finally, this one from Amazing Spider-Man, number 52. I think it's a cool thing they're doing, and I give Marvel a lot of credit, which is why I wanted to put special attention on this book and these covers in this video. Okay, moving on past that and looking at the other number ones that come out this week. First, we're going to talk about a book called Barbalian Red Planet. This is from Dark Horse Comics. This is from the world of Black Hammer, which was originally written by Jeff Lemire. Here's the description. A groundbreaking new sci-fi action series in the world of the Eisner Award-winning Black Hammer universe about prejudice, honor, and identity. Mark Martz has found his place on Earth as both a decorated police officer and as the beloved superhero Barbalian. But in the midst of the AIDS crisis, hatred from all sides makes balancing these identities seem impossible, especially when a Martian enemy from the past hunts him down to take him back, dead or alive. This is the origin story for Barbalian. If you're interested in this story, if you know about this series, this might be something you want to be interested in picking up this week. I wanted to have it on your radar. Next, I want to point out a book that is actually of special interest to me, and I might highly recommend you consider picking this one up. It's called Sea of Sorrows, number 1 of 5. It's a limited series from IDW. Here's the description. Deep sea adventure with a horrific twist. From the creative team behind last year's hit horror series Road of Bones comes an all-new tale of bone-chilling terror. In the aftermath of the Great War, the North Atlantic is ripe for plunder by independent salvage crews. When a former naval officer hires the SS Vagabond, he leads the ship to a sunken U-boat and a fortune in gold. Tensions mount as the crew prepares to double-cross each other, but the darkness of the ocean floor holds deeper terrors than any of them have bargained for. Plunge headfirst into the icy waters of dread with another historic tale of terror from writer Rich Doak and artist Alex Cormack. This sounds interesting to me. This sounds like a story that could very, very possibly get optioned and be a really cool miniseries or movie or something like that. Something to check out. And if you go to your local comic book store and you see this almost solidly black cover on the shelf and it is not damaged, and it looks perfect. It has no color breaking spine ticks, and it's just like perfect 9/8 candidate. You really might consider picking that up, because I think a lot of these are this black covers are so tough, and a lot of them are going to have little bits of damage. So if you see a perfectly clean one, I would pick it up just on the spec of that high grade potential alone. Something to keep in mind. The next book I want to point out to you is a new one. It is called A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night, #1. This is from Behemoth Comics. Let me read the description. Written by the director of the film of the same name, rated 96% certified fresh on Rotten Tomatoes, strange things are afoot in Bad City, the Iranian ghost town, home to prostitutes, junkies, pimps, and other sordid souls, is a bastion of depravity and hopelessness where a lonely vampire, the girl, stalks the town's most unsavory inhabitants. I don't know anything about the movie. I haven't seen it. But 96% on Rotten Tomatoes is a pretty decent score. And this will be the first comic book appearance of these characters. So it might be something you might consider picking up. It sounds like it might be a cool story, and it might be spec-worthy. Something to keep in mind. The next one I want to point out to you is Widowmakers, Red Guardian, and Yelena Belova, #1 from Marvel Comics. Once again, here's the description. Devin Grayson, one of the creators of Yelena Belova, the Red Room recruit who once nearly killed Natasha Romanoff, returns with a brand new story drawn by rising star Michelle Bendini. Yelena has spent years trying to figure out who she is. Once she thought the Black Widow mantle was her destiny, but fate had other plans. Now the past is catching up with her and with Alexei Shostakov, aka the Red Guardian. Alexei has worn many titles, including husband to Natasha, but while the Widow played her avenging games, the Red Guardian waited in the shadows. Now a new day is dawning, and this time, no one will stand in his way. Now it seems like the Black Widow title that came out a couple months ago, and this one, we're really hoping to bank on the success of the Black Widow movie, which of course hasn't come out. So I feel like the heat, the reflected heat that might have come off the movie onto titles like this is just non-existent right now. If you're a fan of the Black Widow and the Black Widow universe of sorts, this is one that might be interesting to you, and you might want to check it out. The next one I want to point out is called Frank, At Home on the Farm, #1. This is from Scout Comics. The description reads, Frank returns from the trenches of World War I, expecting to be greeted by his loving family on their farm. What he finds instead is a dark mystery, his family missing, and only the animals there waiting for him. This sets in motion a terrifying and horrific turn of events as Frank begins his desperate search for his missing kin in a tale that is equal parts The Shining and Twin Peaks. Okay, that's where you got me. When you evoke The Shining and Twin Peaks, you better be good, because those are two fantastic stories and properties. So you mentioned those two things, and like I said, I'm immediately interested. So if you're also a fan of The Shining and Twin Peaks and stuff like that, this might be one you might want to consider. The next one I want to mention is for people who are, if you're a fan of this, man, you're a fan of this. And it is Doctor Who Comics #1. Yes, if you're a fan of Doctor Who, you're probably a big fan of Doctor Who, and you might be very interested in this. Here's the description. Doctor Who returns with the comic debut of iconic 70s TV villain. After narrowly escaping the Weeping Angels and the Autons in 1960s London, the 10th and 13th Doctor must team up once again to save present-day Earth from being overrun by the classic aquatic villain, the Sea Devils. Who else can they turn to for help but Rose Tyler, leader of the human resistance? So once again, I mention this because if you're a Doctor Who fan, you probably are a big one, and you probably want to be known. You probably want to know that this comic book is out there, so I'm letting you know. Finally, in our #1s, I want to mention a book that's new this week. It is called A Dark Interlude #1 from Vault Comics. Now, the description's a little odd. I'm going to try to do it justice, so bear with me. After the stunning success of Fearscape comes A Dark Interlude, the story of... No. The only offense to literature greater than the loathsome synopsis is the sequel. I will not stand idle while some poor excuse for an editor mangles and confuses my story, which is intact, perfect, and concluded with this derivative drivel. Mark my words, this nonsense has nothing to do with my tale. I am not in it, I do not condone it, and you, dear reader, should not buy it. H.H. I don't know who H.H. is, but apparently he's a character in this world. Possibly this is a sequel. I don't know anything about it. But it's kind of fun how they had a character take over the description of this book. Sounds like it could be interesting just on that alone, just on that kind of like, I don't know, meta nature of it. So something you might want to consider checking out this week. Okay, so we've done cover picks, we've done number 1 issues this week. Now let's talk about books that are coming out this week that are just kind of like my be on the lookout picks, things to consider. The first one I want to mention is Ice Cream Man number 21, which is no secret to anyone, and I don't think there's anything special about this issue, but after issue number 20 and the whole Dr. Seuss tie-in thing that they did, people are really paying special attention to Ice Cream Man. And I think you probably, if you're interested in a horror anthology series, you should have always been paying attention to Ice Cream Man. I hear that it's very, very good, and I hear that it has a lot of potential to be made into an anthology television series. And who knows? Who knows what stories, if they do make a television series, which stories they'll pull from. They might pull from issue number 1, they might pull from issue number 21. So what I would suggest is if a horror anthology comic book sounds interesting to you, you should, and you're not already picking it up, you should absolutely start picking up Ice Cream Man right now. It's supposed to be very, very good. The next one I want to mention is Stillwater number 3 from Chip Zdarsky coming out this week. Stillwater number 1 was my pick several weeks ago. I thought it was really, really good. I'm really interested in the world that he's creating, and I'm really interested in where the story's going. Issue number 3 is not too late, folks. If you didn't pick up issues number 1 and issues number 2 and you're potentially interested in this, pick it up now with issue number 3. Go find issue number 1 and 2. For me, when a book starts getting into issues number 5 and 6 is when I start to get into the zone of like, I missed the boat, I'm too far behind, I don't want to have to go find all the back issues. But with issue number 3, all you have to do is find issues number 1 and 2, and you should be able to do that, at least potentially a later print of one or both of them. And it's good, and I recommend it, so I consider picking it up if you haven't already started picking it up. The next book I want to mention to you is something that I talked about earlier in the video, and that is Dark Knight's Death Metal number 5. I've said it before, man. If you're not already on the Dark Knight's Death Metal train, you're not going to jump on with issue number 5 right now. But it has been good. I have been enjoying it. This is in the main, there's been a lot of lapse between the main numbered Dark Knight Death Metal issues. There's with all the tie-ins that have been coming out. So every time there's a new number 1, it's something to pay attention to. So this is number 5 in that, and it's coming out this week, and I am personally excited about picking it up and reading it. Okay, so now we are going to move on to a little mini feature, something that we premiered a couple weeks ago. It is Tynan Time. Yes, and it's going to be a quick Tynan Time because we're only talking about 2 books this week. The first one we're talking about is Batman 103. I basically don't need to say anything else about this. James Tynan IV, Batman. Oh, buy it. This should be just a no-brainer to you. Once again, what I like to say is that I was a Batman fan. I didn't have an excuse. I wasn't buying Batman. And then I started picking up Tynan's Batman run, and I'm so glad I got back into Batman because it's been really, really good when it's being superbly well written by James Tynan IV. And the second book that I'm going to talk about today in Tynan Time is Something is Killing the Children, number 12. Now, that's not my pick this week, though. Now, those of you that know me really well are probably blown away right now. Like, how could Jeff not pick Something is Killing the Children as his pick? But I can't pick it every month, although I might like to because it's really, really good. Man, I swear, once again, similar to Batman, if you're not already picking this up, start picking it up. I don't know. Maybe you're just like, I only like superheroes. I don't like horror stories. I don't like indies. I'm a DC guy or I'm a Marvel guy or something like that. Man, I don't know. If you just like good stories, Something is Killing the Children. It's good for men. It's good for women. It's good for adults. It's horrible for kids. Don't let your kids read this book. But it's so good. It's so well done. I'm a big fan. issue number 12 comes out this week. I myself am going to be getting the A cover, and I'm also going to be picking up that Momoko. Happy to know that I can get my hands on that. It's actually one of the Momokos that I like. She's hit and miss for me. I like this one. So I'm excited about it, and it's coming out this week. Okay, so that's it with Time in Time. Now we're going to move on to our other little mini featurette that we premiered a few weeks ago, and it is Kate's Corner. Yes, and there are only 2 books in Kate's Corner this week, similar to Time in Time. The first one in Kate's Corner is Venom number 30. Now this is the last part of the Venom Beyond storyline. Venom has been good. Like, Venom wasn't a character that I was like, Venom doesn't do it for me as much as it does for other people. But in the hands of Donny Cates, man, I'm just like, yeah, I'm going to read it and I'm going to enjoy it because it's good. If you are not already reading Venom, I highly recommend you pick it up because it's good. But I would also probably recommend you just wait until issue number 31. Don't pick it up with issue number 30. I think it's probably best to start with a brand new storyline, although they tend to bridge, from the end of 30 into the next storyline. But if you're looking for a time and a place to jump in on Venom, wait till issue number 31. But 30 comes out this week. It's going to be great, I'm sure, and I wanted you to be aware of it, that it's coming out. And finally, the last book that we're going to talk about today, and also the second book in Kate's Corner, is Symbiote Spider-Man, King in Black, number 1. Now, yes, I know, not written by Donny Cates, but I include books like this into Kate's Corner because as far as I'm concerned, all things The King in Black have an honorary, a valid honorary place in Kate's Corner. But this is my pick for this week from Marvel Comics. Now, I wasn't exactly sure about this book for the longest time, but then something clicked for me. Let me read the description and then I'm going to get into it. It says, Null, the King in Black, has his sights set on Earth. But as avid Marvelites already know, his hand has been at work at the edge of the Marvel Universe for years. In this series, witness one of Null's earliest attempts at birthing life from the darkness of non-creation. From Superstar creators Peter David and Greg Land comes a titanic tie-in tale to this year's winter epic, King in Black. I think King in Black is going to be awesome. I have been seeing some of the pencil pages that Ryan Stegman has been posting on Twitter and Instagram and places like that, and they look fantastic. This looks like it is going to be such a cool event. I am going to have to fight with every inch of my self-control to not buy everything that has the King in Black logo on it, because I think it's going to be a very cool Marvel-wide tie-in story. But here's the deal. All of this began many years ago, with Spider-Man and his black costume. And I believe that this book is going to go back to that time and give us a new story that is going to help fill out the origin and the history of Null and the symbiotes, and is really going to set up elements of the King in Black storyline. Now, will there be a first appearance in there of a new symbiote, or is this going to be using information that we kind of already know and representing it with new kind of bits of details and information? I don't know. But I think that if you're a fan of Null, of Venom, of symbiotes, of Black Suit Spider-Man, I think if you're a fan of any of these things, this book is quite possibly essential reading, because it's really going to help tie in more of Null and Null's story into that history. Like I said, I'm excited about the King in Black. I think Null is badass. I'm really excited about all these tie-ins, and this one in particular, amongst the books that have been coming out to kind of tee up the whole King in Black thing, I think this one in particular is going to have special value to your understanding of that story. So, for all of these reasons is why if I could buy just one book this week, I would buy Symbiote Spider-Man King in Black #1. Thank you so much for watching this video. I appreciate it very much. As always, if you like my pick and you think I'm a genius, I love being told I'm a genius. Who doesn't love to be told they're a genius? Tell me in the comments, Jeff, you're a genius. Or if you think I'm an idiot, I'm okay with that too. Tell me what your pick would be this week, please. I'd love to hear more feedback from you guys about whether or not you like my pick and if you would have picked something else instead. Also, of course, as always, I say this every video, likes are really appreciated. They're really encouraging, and I mean it. They're just really, really helpful and encouraging. So please leave one if you feel inclined to do so. Also, if you're submitting any books to CGC or CBCS anytime in the future and you live in Southern California, please consider donating your submission, not I don't keep them, but the details of your submission to my Test Your Comic Book Grading Skills videos. Hit this right here to get the information on it if you plan to submit to CGC or CBCS and you're in Southern California. As well, if you haven't already subscribed, please hit the subscribe guy right here and hit the notification bell so that you make sure to get notified about videos that come up when they are posted. Thank you again for watching this video. I'll see you in the next one.